Hello everyone. I have made some updates to Flup's character sheet. At the top, you can still see the older version for comparison. I also came up with a proper name for the living lands of the Sky Throne, so we finally don't have to write it out every single time. Much easier, right? Now, let's give Flup his magic wand. And I'd also like to create a Flup license, just so the AI remembers where he actually came from, the lower lands.
Vane handed Urko the shiny turquoise-yellow Flup license, then announced his departure for an urgent mission as Flup eagerly received his mythical shepherd's staff, with every one of its 4 treasure-hunting powers shimmering in his tiny grip.
Well done, AI. All 4 abilities showed up on the very first try, and the item doesn't look bad either. How about making that in 3D? Wait, why is it over there in the wrong inventory? Alright, here it is in 3D. What do you think? And here's the hilarious license, which actually looks kinda pretty too. Let's make that one 3D as well. Hold on. Okay, here we go. What? A coin. I wanted it to look like paper, but never mind. But it does looks good for it. I thought they'd explore the junkyard of Ithelion first, since Flup might be able to discover some treasures there.
Urko fluffed out his chest and swooped down from his perch, suggesting they visit the junkyard, where old treasures from the lower lands piled high and were free for the taking. Flup's eyes lit up, his tiny scepter waggling with excitement at the word junk. Together, the unusual duo set off, Urko gliding low above the clouds, while Flup scampered close behind, his gaze darting around curiously. The promise of hidden discoveries and shiny loot sparked eager anticipation, and both moved briskly towards the shadowy maze of discarded wonders. As they approached the junkyard entrance, carved into a drifting cloud bank, Urko spotted a gleaming metal wheel, half buried among heaps of colorful scrap.
Why? I had a whole bunch of messages prepared about them going to the junkyard, and the AI just brings them there instantly. Let's just pretend they are still on the way.
Urko flapped forward, pausing every few meters for Flup, whose short legs spun like wheels through the misty paths. Flup finally threw his scepter down, panting. Is this the legendary fast life of the living lands? Because it's feeling quite uphill. Urko clicked his beak, feathers bristling with mild annoyance. We haven't even crossed a fourth yet, and you look ready to collapse." Flup groaned and squeaked, making such a noise that a grintock nearby stopped stacking metal barrels, and a pair of flame-tongued Piran lifted their heads, blinking curiously before returning to their glowing dice game. Urko fluttered down next to Flup and offered, "Do you want to ride my back for a bit, or do you need a cloud cart?" Flup hugged his staff grumpily and mumbled, "Just get us to the shiny things. But no riding, I'm not cargo." The duo continued with Flup scrambling as fast as he could, while Urko adjusted his pace, earning more sideways glances from passing skyfolk and the occasional giggle from a Lasari child overhead.
Hey, no! I literally left my phone and went out of my room as I saw that. Why would Urko ever offer anyone a ride? And how did the AI know I was about to send the opposite idea? What I wanted was Flup asking Urko if he could ride him, and Urko saying no, not the other way around. So yeah, I have to let the AI rewrite that again.
Urko watched Flup struggle along the vaporous path, ruffling his wings thoughtfully as Flup huffed. Flup stopped, looked up with wide eyes and pleaded, "Can't you just fly me there?" With a crisp flick of his tail feathers, Urko replied, "How do you imagine that working?" Flup grinned slyly and tapped his scepter. "Easy, I ride on you." Urko's beak snapped shut in a sharp refusal. "For sure not." Flup sighed and trudged forward, clutching his staff while muttering about useless bird rules, as Urko continued patiently waiting for him to catch up.
At least it made this sound funny, so thanks for that. But it's still really annoying that the AI keeps using the wrong quotation marks in dialogues. I'll have to add that rule into the adventure card yet.
Flup stomped his tiny feet, waving his scepter with exaggerated flair as he looked up at Urko. "If my boss wanted us to enjoy ourselves, this is the opposite of fun," Flup grumbled, puffing his cheeks with mock outrage. "If I drop dead from exhaustion here, I'll just have to tell Vane you made me run like a fool and refused to help." Urko narrowed his emerald eyes, standing tall and ruffling his wings defensively, but Flup pressed on with a sly grin. "So what's it going to be? Mighty bird, help me, or risk the wrath of your boss man." Urko let out a low, annoyed trill, but refused to answer, glaring playfully as Flup continued to trot beside him, swinging his staff in circles.
This reply is both good and confusing. And of course it used that stupid apostrophe again instead of quotation marks. And on top, why can Urko be seriously annoyed but playful at the same time? This AI logic is not understandable.
Urko scanned Flup with an impatient glint in his eye until the little troll finally scurried close, his feet pumping furiously through the misty street. Sighing, Urko swooped down, spreading his emerald wings and tucking his claws so Flup could haul himself up. "Fine, but don't think you'll get away with this every time. And for the love of the Sky Throne, don't pull on my feathers," Urko warned, as Flup carefully clambered atop his broad back. "Yas!" Flup squeaked, but locked his mischievous grin away, just in case Urko might change his mind. With Flup clutching his wand and clinging for dear life, Urko launched into a swift flight, soaring over bustling clouds and shimmering towers until the sprawling junkyard appeared ahead in less than 5 minutes.
Thanks for the level up? But could that please happen after the whole message is sent and spoken, not in the middle? Besides that, should we give Flup 20 inventory slots as well? Yeah, let's just do it. I will also show you the whole message of the AI again in case you want to read it properly, since the level up cut it off. Now they finally arrived. Had to stick to my script, otherwise we would almost be done already.
Urko swooped down and landed with a sharp tilt, causing Flup to tumble off his back with an indignant yelp. Flup scrambled to his feet, wand waving as he gazed wide-eyed at the endless heaps of discarded metal, gears, and sparkling rubbish. "You all are throwing all that away?" Flup shouted, clutching a bent candelabra in disbelief. "There's gold in every pile if you have the right nose. You can reuse 80% of this stuff." Urko ruffled his feathers, beak curling in distaste. "Well, enjoy yourself, treasure troll. This is apparently what you do best." Flup barely heard, already knee-deep in rusted contraptions, tossing items over his shoulder with glee. Urko shook his head and muttered, definitely not flying him back next time. Flup dug deeper, his movements scattering clouds of dust, while Urko hopped to a nearby post and flashed a wary eye at a pair of Grintok sorting pipes nearby. As the wind swirled through the open-air building, Flup let out a delighted gasp, pulling up a brass box with intricate locks and gears, and Urko wondered whether this would be the moment Flup's magical wand actually proved useful. Suddenly, an old Lissari caretaker approached Urko with a twinkle in her eye and a rag trailing from her belt, peering at Flup's noisy wreckage and asking, "Looking for something special? Feathered one?" Urko watched Flup whirl in the piles and replied, "Mostly gold and chaos, it seems." Flup's excitement built as he discovered an object that shimmered beneath a damp fabric among broken pipes. Urko perched higher to get a better look and noticed a faint glimmer that might signal true treasure. Flup paused, wand shaking, and pondered what mysterious value the junkyard still concealed.
Can we not focus so hard on a random treasure, AI? It's a junkyard. You don't exactly expect shiny artifacts lying around. After so many times, I finally make the AI even more clear that it is not allowed to use this semicolon, but instead start a new sentence. Anyway, I want to let it describe the environment now.
Urko settled into a gentle dip in the clouds lining the junkyard, wings folded softly, and tail feathers fanned out as he surveyed the bustling open-air expanse. Watching a chevron of auxiliary glide in perfect formation across the blue, Urko felt a surge of pride at being part of the sky's chosen kin. To his left, robust Grintoks lounged within a warm basin of sunlight, their heavy fur shimmering as they stretched and murmured contentedly among themselves. Farther on, he saw quick Lissari traders bartering over jars of sunlight and bits of storm glass, their voices lilting between laughter and sly negotiation. He thought of his own winding path, how despite all the hassle, he soared high above the landfolk and the troubles below. Glancing over, he caught sight of Flup tearing gleefully through the scrap, and a twinge of gratitude flickered inside him. Not everyone could claim the freedoms and luxury of Ithilien, and Urko tucked his wings tighter, silently promising not to take it for granted as Flup disappeared beneath a pile of gears with a wild cheer.
Oh man, I have to render this cursed picture. What human did the AI even try to make here? Okay, that looks way better. Let's wrap up the exploration and head back to Vane.
As twilight cast indigo shadows across the junkyard, Flup stumbled out trailing metal trinkets and worn widgets, his face half-caked with soot, and Urko squawked at the sight, accidentally sending his meal tumbling into the cloudy abyss below. Flup bellowed, "All of this is gold. I need all of it. I can sell that so well in the lower lands," while Urko sternly shook his emerald head and flipped his wings, declaring, "Nah, we are definitely not taking 100 things. Keep 3 of them, but leave that other stuff here." Flup grumbled, dropping a dented lantern, a copper pipe, and a strange ticking box into his keep pile, as the rest clattered in a heap, then began wiping his hands on a rag, plotting how to make the most of his treasures next.
Alright, time to give Flup some items. Maybe later he can combine them into something useful.
Flup scowled, but grudgingly threw most of his scrap back into the heaps, then slyly stuffed Cloud Gear cog, Featherlight wire, Mistlock clip, and Skyglass button into his pockets, barely hiding the forge from Urko's sharp gaze. Urko flared his wings and looked away, eager to leave the junkyard with Flup before sunset.
So, I had to make a big cut here, because the AI flat out refused for 8 whole messages to generate the items. I assume the bug is that it always tries to put them in Urko's inventory, not Flup's. That's why it didn't even generate them.
Flup grinned and slipped a Cloud Gear cog into his pouch. He snatched up a Featherlight wire and tucked it behind his ear. Next, he clipped a Mistlock clip to his vest for later use. Finally, he found a Skyglass button and set it deep in his pocket with a proud nod.
By saying that it just has to generate items without specifying who gets them, then it does work, though still in the wrong inventory. Yeah, you probably noticed I got annoyed there. That's why my swiping looks so harsh.
Urko swept down, clutching Flup in his talons and lifting him from the ground as Flup wriggled and squawked loudly. "Let me go, Featherhead. I'm not a sack of potatoes," Flup complained, but Urko just rolled his eyes and said, "There's no way you're getting anywhere near my wings covered in scrap dust." Flup pouted, arms crossed and gears jingling inside his pockets, as Urko soared swiftly toward Vane's house, the wind buffeting their forms high above the cloudlands. At last, Urko landed with precision, releasing Flup to tumble onto a soft patch of mist just before Vane's ornate door. "We're back. And no, I didn't let him touch my feathers," Urko announced as they approached. Flup scrambled upright, brushing off his Skyglass button and muttering, "You have no idea what treasures you're missing."
Heck, I'm not even giving my opinion on that mess the AI just wrote. And when will it finally write proper dialogues with quotation marks? That's how dialogues work, AI. Please learn it. Hopefully the next reply will be funny again.
Urko dropped Flup onto the polished floor and glided inside, feathers shaking loose, a stray tuft, as Vane turned with a sweeping gesture and exclaimed, "Hey, no!" at the sight of Flup's messy state. Vane recoiled, arms crossed and nose wrinkled, then pointed sharply towards the bath, legs bracing as he snapped, "Urko, bath now!" While Urko ruffled his wings, puffed out his chest, and muttered, "Why? I already had to drag him everywhere." Vane shot a piercing stare, lips tight and voice like ice. "Do it. No excuses." Begrudgingly, Urko stooped, grasped Flup by the scruff in his beak, and the troll wriggled wildly, waving his arms and shouting, "I can walk! Put me down!" Urko fluttered out, tail flicking with annoyance, then nudged Flup into the bath and commanded, "Wash! Vane won't forgive you otherwise." Returning, Urko perched in front of Vane. He leaned forward, fists on hips, and demanded with burning eyes, "Where on earth have you been all day?"
What even was that Hainu? Weirdest thing ever. That was very funny. So, let's plan out the next day.
After Urko and Flup finished explaining everything, plus a long, splashing soak for Flup, they sat at the table, eating dinner in peace without even a single spilled cup or shouted complaint. Vane announced quietly, almost to himself, that tomorrow they would travel down to the lower lands for a simple task, sighing under his breath. "Just try not to mess up anything, please." Flup's eyes sparkled, and he bounced in his seat, announcing, "We absolutely have to visit a special spot there. There's something amazing waiting." Urko let the words drift by, more focused on his food than Flup's excitement, nodding along, but not really asking questions. Flup kept pleading, and Vane finally caved, promising, "All right, we'll make a quick stop," before everyone finished eating and wandered off to find their beds. Urko found to his horror that Flup's allotted sleep space was in his own room, thanks to Vane's attempt at hospitality. Most of the night, Urko turned and fluffed his feathers, groaning quietly as Flup hummed and chattered about all the wonders and adventures of the lower lands, especially that mysterious place he just had to see. By the time darkness faded toward dawn, Urko's mood was stuck somewhere between dread and exhaustion, wondering just how much trouble a tiny treasure troll could actually cause.
Or, better said, how much trouble an AI can really cause. Ha!